Hey Flutes, welcome to my series, 12 Weeks to 12 Major Scales. This is lesson 1 of 3, focusing on D major scale. You will learn the structure of the scale, build familiarity around the notes that you're not comfortable with, and then we will end this lesson memorizing a few of the notes in the D major scale. Come back for our next 2 lessons on D major scale, which will be posted throughout this week. We will finish this week having memorized the entire major scale and arpeggio. So let's get started. First, what is a major scale? At its core, it's just a pattern of 8 notes within an octave that we use for lots of the Western music that we write today. All 12 major scales use the same pattern. They just begin and end on a different note. So, what is the pattern? It is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So what does that mean? Let's look at the piano to understand. When we use the words half and whole, we're just referring to the distance from one note to another. A half step is closer in distance than a whole. So what does that look like? When we move to the right on the piano, we are going up in pitch. In the past, when I would use this lesson with my students in band, many of my students would get confused and skip a note accidentally or wasn't too sure of where the half step was versus the whole step. And I think a lot of that is because the black keys on the piano are shorter than the white keys. So for now, let's stretch out our black keys on our piano so that we can be sure to eliminate any possible mistakes when we start building our scale. Now that we've stretched out our black keys, let's draw lines from one key to the next. All you're going to do is start on letter D on the piano and end on letter D, drawing lines. When we go from one white key to one black key, we're going to use a diagonal line, but when we go from one white key to another white key, let's use a horizontal line. So it will look like this. Now let's remove the piano so that we can just look at the lines first. Each line represents one half step because, like I said, going from one key to the next, whether it's one white key to one black key or one black key to one white key, or if there's no black key in the middle, going from one white key to another white key, it all is one half step from the other. So now let's use our whole half step pattern here to circle each one of these so that we can figure out which notes are in the D major scale. If you look at the major scale pattern, anytime it said whole, I circled 2 halves because 2 halves make a whole. And anytime it said half, I just circled 1 half. This will be really helpful when we put our piano back into the picture because it will allow us to see which notes are in the D major scale. Okay, we've applied the piano back to the screen. Each dot on the keyboard is the note that we would write down for our D major scale. So that means our D major scale is D, E natural, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. Now, you're most likely familiar with your B flat major scale, which means that you've created habits and routines and patterns around the B flat major scale. Most of the time, learning a new major scale is just becoming familiar with different patterns, different finger patterns, and different notes within each scale. So we need to figure out what is the same from the B flat scale to the D scale and what's different. So the notes that are the same that you're already familiar with the B flat scale that are in the D scale are D, G, and A. We don't have to change anything with those. Now when we black those out, we can see which notes are different in the D major scale from the B flat scale. And those are E natural, F sharp, B natural, and C sharp. If you're an intermediate musician, you most likely don't play these notes very often. So we just need to get familiar with them. We need to get comfortable with the way they feel on our flute, and we need to get comfortable going from one note to the next in the D major scale. I think it's important to isolate and attack the problems that we have. And in this case, the problem is just lack of familiarity. So I wrote an exercise that will help us first become familiar with those new notes for us. But then as the exercise goes on, it builds it within this scale. And by the end of the exercise, you can play the entire scale, hopefully comfortably. Now I wrote this in sections. The first section is the first 10 measures of this exercise. And if you see, I put a double bar after those 10 measures. So this first section, the first 10 measures, is just becoming familiar with D, F sharp, and C sharp first. Then we turn it into half notes just to get used to playing them a little bit faster. And then we'll move into the D major scale, first starting with half notes and then shortening the length of that. We will play each section and stop at the double bar, and then I'll have the screen recount off for you and we'll continue with the next section. So play with me when I count off. 1, 2, ready, play. right, let's play a couple exercises that I pulled from public domain so we can really make sure that we're comfortable with that D major scale. Remember, it's F sharp and C sharp and B natural and E natural. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, here's our second exercise. This one is in 3/4, so be sure to notice my count off will be a 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Play with me when I count off. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, play. Okay, in this diagram, I just showed you that we will start on our first register D, go up to our second register D, and end on our third register D, and we'll work all the way back down to first register D on our D major scale. But what I really want you to notice in here is I have the D major scale laid out, but I took away a few notes. So now that we've played the D major scale a few times within exercises, we played that long exercise, and we also broke it down to figure out which notes are in the D major scale. Let's see if you can memorize only 3 notes this lesson. So notice right here, I have the D major scale laid out, but I have 3 blanks. Can you figure out what 3 notes are missing? They are A, B natural, and C sharp. So let's try playing the D major scale, starting on first register D and going all the way up to third register D and all the way back down. But you have to remember to play A, B natural, and C sharp on the way up, and C sharp, B natural, and A on the way down. Let's try playing it together. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, that's all for our first lesson on D major scale. The goal for you is to memorize this scale. And hopefully, the more you understand the build of this scale and the more you play exercises surrounding that key, it will become easier for you. So if you need to play this video a few times, a few days in a row until we reach the next lesson, be sure to do that. But what I really need you to do is make sure that you have A, B natural, and C sharp memorized before the next lesson. So be sure that if you didn't get it memorized within this lesson, go back and practice. See if you can play the D major scale multiple times between now and the next video. I'll see you on the next lesson.